What could go right? I'm Zachary Carabell, the founder of the Progress Network, joined by my co-host, Emma Varvalukas, the executive director of the Progress Network. And this is our Progress Report, our weekly shorter form podcast. So, Ms. Varvalukas, as you have sat on your throne of information, what have you selected for us today?
I wish I could
to
have a
look at?
better title other than Ms. if I have a throne, you know? It's like information, Sar, something.
What title?
I don't know,
What
breaker
title
of
would you
chains,
like?
mother of dragons, something like really, with gravitas.
I henceforth name you Mother of Dragons. You are the
Yes, the
Khaleesi
Khaleesi
of good
I'll
news.
take that. So today I want to revisit something that I last wrote about in the newsletter in the winter of 2024, and people love the topic then, so bringing it back for an update now. And that is the Herculaneum scrolls. So these were scrolls that were buried when Mount Vesuvius erupted, but they were carbonized. So there was a villa in that city. It's about 10 miles from Pompeii. And the villa had a library with nearly 2,000 scrolls. 800 of those scrolls were excavated from the villa in, I believe it was 1750, but they couldn't be read because they were essentially like charred logs. Like think about like a carbonized wood, a carbonized tree. It was like that wrapped around a papyrus scroll. It's the only library to survive from that time, and scholars believe that it's a trove of ancient Greek and Roman works. And in early 2024, the founder of GitHub, Nat Friedman is his name, launched this challenge called the Vesuvius Challenge to see if a tech could be developed that could read these scrolls without unrolling them. Lots of people had tried to unroll them. You can imagine what ensued, lots of charred, burned fragments. And someone actually did succeed. Actually, 3 people succeeded. So there is this tech now, it's an AI-based tech. They first scan these scrolls, and they need such a high resolution image that they actually can only be scanned using a particle accelerator. So they scan them with a particle accelerator, and then this AI tech reads the inside of the scroll by identifying what's called crackle patterns in the ink. So like it's literally reading the little bumps of ink that are rising off of the papyrus. And there are about 800 scrolls that are sitting in a library in Naples. They have scanned 5 of them. 18 more are starting to be scanned at a particle accelerator in England. 50 more are about to be flown to France. So right after, not right after, but no, yeah, right after they successfully read the inside of a scroll for the first time, which again was in the early months of 2024, they started trying to get the rest of the 800 scrolls that are in that library in Naples scanned. So progress is occurring on that front. 50 more are about to be flown to France. They, for the first time, recovered a title from one of the texts the first week of May. This was on Monday that they announced this. And it was a text by the Epicurean philosopher Philodemus. And the title was On Vices, Book 1. It's part of a multi-volume set. There are 10 books. So just wanted to give people an update on that. It's such a cool text story. It's also full of so much little detail that's also really cool. Like the scrolls are so fragile. They're basically, someone told Nature this, they're like paper mache glass. So if you drop them, they will shatter. So what they did is that they 3D printed bespoke little cases for them. So they printed them their little cases and then flew them around to England and France to be scanned.
Wow, you really went
Yeah.
deep into the wonky weeds with the Herculaneum scrolls and the GitHub enhanced. How do we read these things? I mean, look, it is fascinating, and of course, it would have other applications about how we read archaeological troves that have henceforth been unreadable, that we haven't been able to access, and the way in which this could open up. Most of what we understand about antiquity in every country is fragmentary, like literally and metaphorically. We have little fragments of things along the way. All the great plays of Greek tragedy, we have just a small, tiny little fraction of the corpus. And the degree to which we could now potentially, I guess, open up a whole world of ideas and words, and presumably this could be true of Vedic scriptures in India and elsewhere, or ancient Chinese scrolls, is kind of a wild window into the past that has henceforth been at best opaque and at worst completely shut. So it's more than just like, oh, isn't this cool tech? It's like we have the potential now to kind of understand ourselves to a degree that would have been
Yeah, and the
unimaginable
library, they
before.
think the library has unknown works by Aristotle, for instance, other big names. Their goal is to scan other big names.
Turns out about that ethics thing. On second thought,
I know. I mean, you're joking, but it is like they knew already that Plotinus had written a 10-piece set on vice, and they thought that the first book was on flattery. But this book that they just discovered, which is called On Vices Book One, is not on flattery. I know it's an enormous discovery, but it
oh,
actually is.
wow.
It's a small example because not that many people know who Plotinus is, or like maybe really cares what he has to say about flattery. But there are people that do. And it just goes to show that it's gonna possibly, once they scan all these 800 scrolls, change our knowledge about the works of some old-timey philosophers that we thought that we had already knew. Fun fact, caveat, depending on how you view things, the tech world is very small. So one of the winners of the Vesuvius challenge, one of the people that read from inside the scroll for the first time, did later gain some notoriety because he started working at Doge. So just so you know, the tech world is small.
Don't judge the art by the artist.
Exactly, exactly. So, moving on from Mount Vesuvius and its victims, let's talk about Maryland. It has reached its conservation goal of 30 by 30. This is a UN based goal set by in ideally all countries in the world. Not all countries are going to meet it, but there are also some states that signed up for this goal. It's to preserve 30% of its land for conservation purposes by 2030. 9 states in the US have signed up to achieve 30 by 30, and Maryland is the first one to actually do it, way ahead of schedule. So they are now setting a bigger target of 40% protected land inside the state by 2040.
And is this being done with incentives or tax breaks, or like, do you know how this is working?
A large part of this success has to do with a tactic that Maryland has had in place since 1969, says the New York Times. They have a 0.5% transfer tax on real estate sales. And that goes to a program called Program Open Space, which enables the state to acquire green spaces from voluntary sellers and to purchase conservation easements from private landowners. So
Oh,
that's your
there you
answer.
go.
It's not
A
the
lot of
whole
different.
shebang, but it's in part how they did this, a big part.
Well, we rarely do the whole shebang.
Mm.
Usually we do partial or semi shebangs.
It's a 10-minute show, you know? There's no time
Yeah,
for a whole
and it's like
shebang.
there's no time for the whole shebang. Okay, next item on your voluminous
Last
agenda.
Yes, last but not least, I thought this was very interesting. There's a Bloomberg columnist who is arguing that we have passed peak alcohol consumption, like, as a human race, like, the entire
Huh.
world, which
God,
is
that sucks
fascinating.
given that I own a distillery, so that's like you
Well,
think that that's good news, but depends on where
no.
you sit.
I have good news for you too, Zachary, as the owner of a
Okay.
distillery, that we are consuming less but spending more on alcohol.
Oh, well, that's thank God, because we definitely charge a lot of money for our gin and our vodka and our bourbon. So, whew, I'm much relieved that the per unit amount of spend is going up, even of the overall consumption is going down.
Yes, I can't say that's, like, a really relatable thing. I'm not sure a lot of people listening are gonna be like, "Oh, yes, I was also waiting for that piece of good news." But if you were, there you are. And for the rest of us, wine consumption, I learned from this article, actually peaked in, like, the '70s, the '60s or the '70s, but beer consumption peaked relatively recently in 2016. He kinda does some analysis about where we've already had our younger demographic population boom. A lot of the population boom is in Muslim countries that don't drink a lot. He feels that it is time to say that we have passed peak consumption of alcohol, which is a departure actually from all of human history. The more
Yeah.
humans there have been, the more alcohol there has been consumed until now.
No, it's definitely true. The wine consumption is down a lot, and beer definitely, peaked a bit. I guess now you have all these hard ciders and different things that have sort of somewhat replaced beer, but the aggregate amount may be going down. And all kidding aside about my desire for all of you listening to go to minehilldistillery.com,
Oh, jeez.
minehilldistillery.com, and buy booze online. If you're over 21, and as a net, like a lot of people would be much better off drinking a lot less. That is unequivocally true. Just like it's true that a lot of people would be a lot better off having better diets. I mean, there is everything in moderation, and it is definitely true that X percentage of people in every society, when presented with an array of booze, will not drink to moderation. So this is like my public service announcement of drink responsibly or whatever the hell they say on the various commercials.
Drink responsibly, but if you're going to drink, buy stuff from my
But,
brewery.
but if you're going to drink only gin and bourbon and rye from Mine Hill Distillery, which is minehilldistillery.com in Western Connecticut. Just saying. I hear people tell me.
I should have foreseen that this was going to go in this direction.
On that very nonprofit note, we will sign off for this week's progress report. I hope you all enjoy the Manhattans and Negronis that you're going to make with the product I've just mentioned. I should like hold up a bottle right now in the
Yeah, I
video
should have
part of
been
it.
ready.
Yeah. Oh my God, here we go. It's like cross promotions. We will be back with you next week. Thank you, Emma, for highlighting said stories, and the Podglomerate for producing, and the team at the Progress Network for putting it all together, and for you, our listeners, for listening. We do not take your time for granted, and we do not forget for one moment what an honor it is to be heard by you.